Alex, great match. Look forward to seeing you in the next round.
Berlin, Rot-Weiss Tennis Club. Saturday, the draw sheet went up at noon. Donna Vekic's name sat next to Eala's. 8 days before that draw went up, Vekic wasn't even inside the gates of Queen's Club. She'd lost in qualifying to Anna Blinkova. She was training quietly at the National Tennis Center in Roehampton, expecting to fly home. Then her phone rang. Marta Kostyuk had pulled out with an ankle injury. A lucky loser spot had opened. Vekic raced across London, picked up a racket she thought she wouldn't need again that week, and didn't lose again until the trophy was in her hands. 6 matches later, 2 checks in one day, a British wildcard in the semis, and a 6-0, 7-6 demolition of the hometown favorite in the final. Vekic was a doubleta champion for the first time since 2023. Now that same woman, ranked no. 76 a week ago and no. 32 today, walks onto a grass court in Berlin to face the one player who has already beaten her twice this year. So which version of Donna Vekic shows up? The one who lost in qualifying 8 days ago? Or the one who just won a title she had no right to even be playing for? Here's where Eala actually stands heading into that match. No, 33 in the world, a number that means something specific. It puts her 1 ranking spot from a seed at Wimbledon, the tournament where she made history a year ago as the first Filipino to ever reach the singles main draw. She got there the hard way. On June 7th, she won the Birmingham Open, her second career WTA 125 title, beating her own doubles partner, Nicola Bartunkova, in a final that swung 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 across 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's the kind of match where your legs are gone before the trophy ceremony even starts. 3 days later, in London, she lost to Iva Jovic, 2-6, 2-6. Not a fight, a wipeout. 4 games total against a player she'd actually beaten in their previous meeting. That's the human detail nobody puts in the highlight reel. Lifting a trophy on Sunday, then getting steamrolled by Wednesday. Tennis doesn't pause to let you enjoy anything. If you're new to her story, here's the short version for you. 21 years old, from a country with almost no tour history before her, and already with wins over a top 5 and a top 2 player on her resume. But here's what nobody noticed in all the noise around that Jovic loss. Eala has beaten Donna Vekic twice this year already, both times in January. Both times by coming back from behind. This isn't new territory for her. It's unfinished business, just relocated to a surface neither of them has tested it on yet. A year ago, on Wimbledon's center court, the defending champion needed every bit of her experience to get past Eala. Barbara Krejcikova, a 6-time Grand Slam title winner, had to climb back from losing the first set before she finally closed it out. 3-6, 6-2, 6-1. Afterward, she didn't talk about the scoreline. She talked about the kid. She gave Eala credit for what she'd produced in that opening set, called the ball striking and line painting something else entirely, and said almost laughing that the next generation was clearly arriving early. That's not a courtesy line from a beaten favorite. That's a major champion, mid-tournament, stopping to flag a 20-year-old as a problem for the rest of the tour. Now put a number next to that praise, because the praise alone doesn't tell the full story. By her own season-long numbers, Vekic has actually been the more successful player specifically at tour level this year, winning at a higher rate than Eala when the ranking points are biggest. The eye test says Eala has Vekic's measure. The full season math says Vekic is most dangerous exactly when the lights get brightest. Both of those things are true on the same court, on the same day. Here's the part of this story that isn't generous, because a fan account would stop at the head-to-head and call it a day. Eala's real problem isn't her ground strokes. It isn't her serve. It's what happens the week after she peaks. Trace it back. She went into the Miami Open last year ranked no. 32, on the back of the best stretch of her career, wins over a top 5 and a top 2 player. Then a heavy loss to Linda Noskova dropped her to no. 46 almost overnight. This year, the same shape repeated on clay. Losses to Elise Mertens, Leylah Fernandez, and Jelena Ostapenko in quick succession dragged her down into the mid-40s again, right before a first-round exit at the French Open to her own close friend Iva Jovic. Then Birmingham happened, a title, a career rebound, a return to no. 33, and 3 days later, Jovic beat her again, 2-2, at Queen's Club. Win big. Crash almost immediately after. That's the pattern, and it's repeated enough times now that it isn't bad luck, it's a trend with a cause. It's not stage fright. That would actually be the easier fix. This is closer to a physical and mental hangover, the gap between producing a career-best result and having anything left in the tank 4 days later to defend it. Right now, that gap is the single biggest thing standing between Eala and a permanent home in the top 30, more than any technical flaw in her game. And that is what makes today's match against Vekic Vekic so important? Here's what I want to know from you. Does the head-to-head hold up on grass against a woman who just won a title on it? Drop your score prediction below. Zoom out, because this single first-round match carries weight past the scoreline. A year ago, Eala walked onto Wimbledon's center court wearing a Sampaguita hair tie in honor of her country's national flower, the first Filipino in the Open era to play that draw. Today, one win in Berlin puts her into a second-round match against the world No. 2. Elena Rybakina, the same player who beat her in straight sets in Rome earlier this season. Win that too, and Eala walks into Wimbledon seeded, not as a wildcard story, but as a ranked threat. This climb doesn't move in a straight line, and it never has for players building something from nothing. Coco Gauff's early seasons looked the same way, drops in and out of the top 30 for years before the results finally became permanent instead of temporary. Breakthroughs in women's tennis almost never arrive as one clean upward slope. They arrive exactly like this: a title one week, a gut punch loss the next, and a rematch that decides which version of the story gets written down. Former World No. 4 Greg Rusedski looked at this exact trajectory this spring and didn't hedge. He sees a top 20 player already inside Eala's game and called her a genuine asset for the entire WTA Tour, not just for Philippine tennis, for the tour itself. That's not a hometown broadcaster talking up a local star. That's a man who spent his career inside the world's top 10, pointing at a 21-year-old from Manila and telling the rest of the sport to pay attention. If you don't know who Eala is yet, here's the one reason to stay anyway. A wild card with a 2-0 record over a reigning tour champion, on a surface neither of them has ever trusted, with the world No. 2 waiting on the other side of the result. Berlin, Rot-Weiss Tennis Club. Saturday, the draw sheet went up at noon. Donna Vekic's name sat next to Eala's, except now you know what that actually meant. Not a routine first round, but a collision between a player who's already beaten her opponent twice this year and a champion who, 8 days earlier, didn't even know she'd still be in London long enough to win anything. My prediction: Eala wins this one in 3 sets, the same shape as both of her previous wins over Vekic. A slow start, a response in the middle set, control late. But the real test isn't this match. It's whether she can actually hold on to the result next week, the way she couldn't after Birmingham. So tell me again, does the head-to-head hold up on grass? Or does Vekic's title run carry her straight through it? I'm here every week the Philippine flag shows up on a WTA draw sheet. Subscribe if you want to know before the highlight reels do.